Well, look, you've mentioned the fact that you're a president of a club, and I hinted to it before. Can you be the president of a club and the president of a union at the same time? Can you take on both of those roles, and can you run both of those respective bodies efficiently and effectively for Swinburne?
Are you asking about a conflict of interest, or are you asking
well, yes, and are you biting off more than you can chew?
That's a good question, and on the conflict of interest issue, I don't think that would be an issue. However, I didn't intend to stand for president of Swinburne Music Scene again next year. I still intend to be heavily involved with the club because it's sort of my brainchild, and I'm really into music myself. But no, I was not intending to continue as president of Swinburne Music Scene if I were to be elected as president of Swinburne Student Union.
Well, you heard it first here on 3SSR. That's a bit of a news story broken here on the airwaves. I guess, Liz, now both the SSU and 3SSR have been described as the voice of the students here at Swinburne. That said, where does 3SSR fit into your student union?
Well,
should you be re-elected, hypothetically?
Yeah, well, I think that the question is that we're for student-run services, we're for student control over student affairs, and to do that will actually require a campaign. I don't think that just asking nicely to the university is going to get back these things. And so I think that there's a reason why they took away the services from the student union in the first place. So yeah, I'm for student-run services and student-run radio. I think that is, it's both possible to maintain the sort of journalistic integrity of a radio station as well as it being covered under the student union.
I guess more specifically, would your voice of the students support 3SSR?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. James, same question applies. How does 3SSR fit into the change ticket?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been involved with 3SSR myself over the past 3 years, and absolutely we support 3SSR. And it's worth mentioning that SSU over the past 4 years, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe it's had any involvement with 3SSR, but we'd certainly be heavily involved in, and we actually want to bring the Swine back as well, the student newspaper, so student media is quite important.
The reason that the SSU hasn't had anything to do with 3SSR for the last few years is basically because when the VSU came about, we were sort of plucked out of and it says somewhere on the website, plucked out of the flannelette pocket of the union and transported into this magical pedestal provided to us by the SSAA. It was actually made out of polystyrene. What I guess I'm trying to say is the SSAA have made it look like they provided us with a lifeline, but I mean, as late as last week, we found that our own funding will be diminished significantly. I'll hit you with a number: 70% of that funding will disappear as of next year. So, more specifically, how does that fit into your union, Liz?
Well, unfortunately, the $200,000 in reserves are not going to cover the cost of operating for student radio, and so that's why we actually need...
You'd be surprised. We run on a budget of $10,000.
Okay, so, well, perhaps if we sort of didn't do anything else, but I think that is why we're going to need to have students that are prepared to put pressure on the university administration to get this funding. So yeah, I don't think it's going to come easy, and I think that, when we're sort of campaigning around the student union and the positions that we take, it's not that we're promising the world, we're saying that we're promising a student union that's going to be active around these questions. On that note, now, James, you want to create a new dialogue between the SSAA and the union if elected. Will that, and I guess a lot of students are anxious or worried about this, will that make the union a puppet organisation of the SSAA?
No, I don't think so, absolutely not. The union is and always will be independent of the university. Whether we work with the university and the SSAA, I don't see how that could compromise the independence of the union and the independence of its political activism for students on campus. No.
Okay.
I had a question and it's escaped me. I do apologise. I was distracted. I wanted to focus more on both of your personal opinions on certain things, just so students out there can get an opinion of who's going to be leading them next year. So can I ask you both what your favourite ice cream is?
Mint chocolate chip.
Yep.
Oh no, I don't really like ice cream.
Okay, rightio. that says a lot. 2-pack or biggie?
2-pack.
2-pack.
Yep, cool. And one last question. What is your favourite TV show on TV?
Probably Scrubs, I reckon.
Scrubs?
Scrubs, yeah.
Liz?
Well, I like The Wire, but it's not really on enough. We've downloaded it.
Yeah, it's...
This season right now.
Yeah, it's a good show. Definitely a good show.
I thought you had something hard-hitting.
You took my last hard-hitting question.
I'm sorry. Now, okay, hypothetical scenario. I'm Joe the plumber, and I happen to do a business course at Swinburne. I'm in my 3rd year. What can the Student Voice Party do for me?
Well, if you're
how can Student Voice support me?
If you're in your 3rd year, you're probably about to wrap up your course, so you're going to go out into the big wide world. So I guess that is where one of the roles of the student union come into play that we think is important, the political role, because those students are going to go out into society and they're going to want to have organisations in society continue to take up questions like racism, questions like homophobia, and so on. And actually, there's a very proud tradition of doing that, and it's helped to make society better. If you think of the struggles against apartheid, struggle against the Vietnam War, these are things that didn't just impact on students, obviously, but on society generally. And student unions were at the forefront of these campaigns. And I think that we want to, surprising enough, they were. We want to maintain that. And a business student, I think, would benefit from having a union that continues to play this role instead of only focusing narrowly on the questions of, space bar and having just clubs on campus.